ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम गुरुदेव भगवान शिव शंकर भोलेनाथ कैलाशपति महाराज की जय, भगवान व्यास जी महाराज की जय, शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय, स्वामी चिन्मयानंद भगवान की जय, स्वामी दयानंद भगवान की जय, स्वामी प्रबुद्धानंद भगवान की जय, माता पिता की जय, सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय, सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। ओम श्री कृष्णाय नमः। गीता अध्याय 3. We had yesterday seen verse number 4, in which Shri Krishna told Jnananishta, otherwise called moksha, is not achieved merely by becoming a sannyasi, because karma yoga is also a means. In fact, without karma yoga nishtha, sannyas nishtha is not possible. Only by karma yoga can you become a real sannyasi. Only then is there a choice between karma yoga and sannyasa. If you have gained certain contemplativeness by a life of karma yoga, if your life is more or less adequate and you are satisfied with yourself, then you can sit by yourself. Only then can sannyasa be a means for you. Without karma yoga, this sannyasa is not possible. To say nothing of naishkramya, therefore mere taking of sannyasa does not amount to gaining moksha. Not performing action is also not naishkramya. If not being a sannyasi, you do not do the karma that is to be done by you, it amounts to derelication of duty. It is not naishkramya. If, however, you give up karma by taking sannyasa, you may think that the vows you have taken are enough to free you from all actions, but they are not. You still have to gain knowledge. Again, Shri Krishna says actionless is not to be taken initially in verse number 5. This is what Shri Krishna says. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu nitishtatya karma krata karyate havashah karma sarva prakriti jay gune. Jatu, ever. Khasanam, for a second. Kshanam, for a second. Api, even. Kaschit, someone. Akarma karat, without performing action. Not he indeed. Titasthi, remains. Prakriti jana guna, by the three gunas, born of Prakriti. Prakriti, sarvaha, everyone. avasha, being helpless, karma, action, karyate, is made to do. Indeed, no one ever remains for even a second without performing action, because everyone is forced to perform action by the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, born of prakriti. This we have seen in chapter 2. There is no person who can exist even for a second now or later without performing any action whatsoever. It cannot be said that someone who is young and active either meaningfully or idly performs action, and someone who is old is inactive and does not. Young or old, no one exists without performing one action or the other at any time, even the shortest period of time, a flicks of a second. There is no time without action. Even Krishna performed action. He was talking, he was teaching, and if he had not been teaching, he would have been doing something else. If there were no one to teach, he would simply pick up his flute and play. He would not remain quiet for very long, and even if he did, sitting quietly would also be an action. In India, there is an expression, keeping quiet, which means the person is doing nothing. But person is doing nothing. But keeping quiet is definitely an action. It is an activity. No one keeps quiet. One is quiet. Keeping quiet is in action. Because keeping is an action. So there is no time whatsoever when you are free from activity. We can see that there are many varieties of activities with many definitions. For instance, whatever you do voluntarily is karma. Closing your eyelids involuntarily is also a karma. A general definition of karma is that which is in the form of motion. Chalanat. Chalanatmakam karma. If action is motion, then non-action, akarma, must be motionless and therefore naishkramya. But is it? How long can you be motionless? When a man who considers himself motionless is asked, do you do any karma? He may not answer, because talking is a karma. Instead, he shakes his head in the negative, which is an action again. Similarly, if he nods his head in agreement to the question, here are you doing karma? He is also performing an action. The entire body is always in the state of activity. Breathing is motion. Thinking is motion. And from thought to another, eating is an activity, even when performed by one who has given up all activities. There may be a special name for it, bhiksha, but even so, it is an action. Just see what a bhikshu will do if instead of giving him food, we simply write the word bhiksha on piece of paper and hand it to him. Similarly, cooking, walking and bathing are all karmas. Sitting in a chair, cross-legged, on the floor, or in any other manner is karma. All the karmas are in the form of motion. If this is so, when are you going to be motionless? Only when you know I am motionlessness. I am motionlessness. In knowledge alone, there is a karma. The akarma is in the knowledge. There is no other akarma otherwise. Thus, at no time is there any living being who is not performing some activity or the other. We have no way of knowing whether there is an activity after death, except that the Shruti says that one takes another birth, thereby implying even more actions. Therefore, When is a person not performing action? Even in deep sleep, there is an activity, since breathing and the other vital psychological functions, physiological functions continues to operate. Otherwise, there would be no need to break one's fast. There would be no breakfast for the person. What are the causes of action? The three gunas born of Prakriti. If motion is action, then there is no time when the person is given physical body is free from activity. Even if action is taken as something that is will based, one is always doing one thing or the other, helplessly implied by an unseen cause, as Krishna said in the second line of the verse when he introduced the word Prakriti. Prakriti is that one of which any product, any creation is ultimately born, and is the word given to the material cause of the world. Your mind is also born out of Prakriti, which has three qualities, gunas, Sattva guna, Raja guna and Tama guna. Being qualities of the cause Prakriti, these three qualities will also be in the effect for the product. For example, gold is the cause for a given bangle. Gold has certain qualities, certain weight, and that weight will be there in the bangle. It is also the certain color which also be in the bangle. Because gold is rust proof, the bangle will also be rust proof. The bangle will contain the metallability, strength, and so on. The gold of the gold, because it is born of the gold. Prakriti, the cause, its cause being gold, the bangle will necessarily have some qualities of gold. Similarly, the Antakarana, mind, is born of Prakriti and has the same qualities, Sataguna, Rajaguna and Tamaguna. Each produces certain type of desires, the expression of which can be classified accordingly to these three gunas, as we shall see in more detail later in the Gita. For instance, there are three types of giving. Giving as an investment in expectation of return is born of tamas. Giving for sake of pride is born of rajas. Giving because it must be done and once done is forgotten is born of sattva. Only giving has all the three qualities. If you give as a return, expecting something, if you expect something, it is tamas. If it is for pride, if it is for ahankara, rajas. If it is given mere for seek, mere to be given and forgotten, religious may be the cause, the rajas. Rajoguna, the pride is made of rajoguna. Giving because it must be done and once done forgotten is Sataguna. Thus there are clear division among the three, because Sataguna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna are present in everyone. There are three types of expression with reference to desires. Prompted by these desire, one perform actions. In this way, all living beings are made to do action. There is no escaping it. A bug keeps on moving because if it stays in one place, it gets risk of getting squashed. Even while moving, it has no guarantee of its life. For a worm to go from one side to other side of the room is like making a pilgrimage on foot to Benares from the South India. Something inside every living creature impels it to perform action. This is how the creation is. No one remains without performing action. Therefore, literally speaking, that one is not going to accomplish Naishkramya actionless. Naishkramya is simply knowing oneself to be free from doership. This is the only Naishkramya available, and this is moksha. literally speaking, one is not going to accomplish actionless. Naishkramya is simply knowing. It is knowledge. Knowing oneself to be free from doership. While doing, you are free from doership. This is the only Naishkramya available, and this is moksha. The verse under discussion here relates to the previous one. By not being an activity, one is not going to accomplish Naishkramya, nor is one going to do so by giving up action, even if one adheres to the Vedic rules of sannyasa. So by becoming a sannyasi, one cannot give up activities because it is physically impossible. One will always be doing one thing or the other. One will go for food, which is an action. One will eat the food, which is another action. Thus, even a sannyasi is active in some form or the other. Therefore, if one takes sannyasa, it does not mean that one has gained sarva karma sannyasa. One has merely been absolved from certain duties. Giving up all action is matter of knowing, even choosing between the two lifestyle. Do not think that sannyasa is easy. There is activity in sannyasa also, just as there is in karma yoga. Which one is more appropriate for you depends upon your disposition. If one has raga dvesha, it is better to be karma yogi. If, however, one finds oneself to be contemplative and not interested in anything other than pursuing the self-knowledge, then sannyasa is suitable for the person. It means that one's life has been lived meaningfully and one is now ready for sannyasa. Only then should one become a sannyasi. Even so, Naishkramya is equal to the knowledge. A samsari is one who does not know the Atma. Verse number 6. Now Shri Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamaya aste mansa smarana indriyarthani mudatma mithyachara sa uchyate. Yah, one who knows. Karma indriyani, organs of action. Samyama, controlling. Samyama. Indriyaratana, sense objects. Manasa, with the mind. Smarana, remembering. Aste, sits. Vimudhyatma, deluded. Mithyachara, a person of false conduct. Uchyate is called the one who controlling the organ. The one who controlling the organ of action sits with the mind remembering those sense objects is deluded and is called a person of false conduct. One who does not know that the nature of Atma is Naishkramya, actionless, take himself or herself be the doer. When as a doer one gives up action by will, his or her life is false. Mithya means false, and achara means conduct, and therefore mithyachara literally means false living. A person who does not know the Atma is a sansari with all the problems, inadequacy and so on that a life of sansara implies, giving up all activities. Such a person cannot but dwell upon the sense objects toward which he or she no longer goes. Controlling all the organs of actions, the person thinks that he or she is performing no action, not speaking or doing anything. The person just sits. What happens then? Because he or she does not see the self as fullness, ananda, the person cannot but think of the sense object, not knowing the Atma but thinking that he or she is going to be actionless. One who gives up all activities will necessarily dwell on the object toward which he or she no longer goes. This is why Krishna refers to such a person as Vimuddha Atma, one who is deluded and confounded. His or her conduct itself is false. It is not actionlessness at all, because the person is always thinking about sense objects. Suppose this person does not think about the objects, he or she cannot but think about them, because the person has no other object to think about unless he or she knows the Atma. If the Atma is known, there is no problem. The person is already actionlessness, which is why knowledge of Atma is called moksha. Without this knowledge, a person who thinks he or she is going to gain naishkramya by not doing action is living in delusion. Instead of enjoying the knowledge of Atma, the person will contemplate upon various objects already experienced or possibly experiences yet to come. Krishna told Arjuna that this type of living is false, and Shankara went so far as to call it sinful, papachara. Krishna now describes the person who does not live life this way. He says, and asakta asakta is one who takes to yoga of action. Yatvindriyani manasa niyamayarabhate arjunaha karmendriye karma yogam sat tasa vishayashyate. Arjuna, O Arjuna, yah, one who, to, whereas, indriyani, sense organs, manasa, with the mind, nirayamaya, controlling, asakta, asakta, unattached, asakta, karmendriya, with the organ of action, karma yogam, the yoga of action, arabhate, takes to, saha, that, vaisheshyate, is far superior, whereas Arjuna, the one who controlling the sense organ with the mind, remaining unattached, takes to yoga of action, that is action performed with yoga buddhi, which is the organ of action, is far superior. A person who can control his or her sense pursuits has discrimination, viveka. The control is through the mind only. The word manasa, through the mind, implies viveka, manasa being another word for buddhi, intellect. The control, to control one's organ of action and sense pursuit, in other words, having a mastery over them, is to direct them at will. Such a person, not attached to karma phala, the result of action, being arabhate, takes to a life of karma yoga, meaning the person perform karma as a yoga, as a sadhana, a means. One cannot do karma yoga. One can only have it because karma yoga is strictly an attitude with reference to action and its result. The person described by Krishna in the verse is one who begins doing karma with the organ of action, speaking, walking, and whatever is to be done with the proper attitude. Actions to be done may be Vaidika karma, scripturally enjoined rituals, or Laukika karma, consisting of all other activities. When one does Vedic karma or Laukik karma with a karma yoga attitude, one does not do it to fulfill one's raga dvesha, but to naturalize them. In other words, to purify the mind for gaining the knowledge that is moksha. This is what we have seen in chapter 2 also. Generally, people do Vedic karma, ritual prayers and so on in order to gain securities and pleasure. This is nothing but fulfilling their ragas and dveshas. First you pray and then you present the Lord with your petition. There is nothing wrong with this, but you need to know that it is only fulfilling your raga dvesha. Praying is not the Lord for cure of the disease or the solution to problem is definitely appropriate. If you have done everything you can do and it is not enough, why not invoke the Lord also? What should be understood here is that all prayers, even those enjoyed by the Vedas, can be for your securities and pleasures, either here or in hereafter, or they can be yoga, a means for self-purification and self-knowledge, which is moksha. Karmas, even if performed according to dharma, is for fulfillment of one's raga dvesha alone. This is for the sake of achievement in form of securities and pleasure. Such karmas are called kamya karmas. The person who does the karma is called karmi or karmatha. One is the one who is attached to the result of action. The person who is unattached is one who, rather than doing kamya karma, is doing karma for the sake of preparing the mind for knowledge. For such a person, prayer or any other type of Vedic karma is for the very joy of praying and also for purification of the mind. Antakarana shuddhi, being for certain desire ends, that is antakarana shuddhi and moksha. These karma also come under the category of kamya karma. But since the purpose of performing them is antakarana shuddhi, they are not considered to be impelled by raga dvesha. This needs to be understood. However, karma done for any other reason is bhoga sadhana, a means for enjoying security and pleasure, even if it is prayer or ritual enjoyed by Vedas. A man may perform an elaborated ritual for sake of wealth, progeny, or for heaven, in which he spends a lot of money, but all these are for enjoyment alone, even though the person does not know who is enjoying that. When you say you enjoy an object, you do seem to be enjoying it. In time, however, you find that object has enjoyed you because you have grown older. The object of enjoyment have taken away your liver, kidneys, everything. You find yourself the loser because you don't know who is the enjoyer of and who is enjoyed. During the early years of your life, your body was growing. You became taller and stronger. You grew by eating. But as an adult, the emphasis shifted. Previously, you were eating and you were growing. But now, in spite of eating, you are declining. Therefore, who is eating now? You are no longer eating the food. The food is eating you. The food itself has become the eater, because in spite of eating, you are declining. In this way, the eater becomes the eaten. Therefore, you do not know which is the enjoyer in which is enjoyed. Action as prayers. This is very important. If when performing Vedic karma, one thinks of oneself as an enjoyer, one is referred to as phalashakta, one who is attached to the result of action. If it is the same as Laukik karma as well. In fact, for a karma yogi, there is no such thing as Laukik karma. The word is barely a verbal expression for an action that is not Vedic ritual, because for yogi, every action is nothing but prayer to Ishvara. The Lord of our analysis reveals the order that is here is in the creation is nothing but Ishvara. Once one recognizes this fact, any action one performs which is in keeping with Ishvara becomes a prayer. Therefore, there is nothing that is Laukika or Vaidika. The word being used only to distinguish non-ritualistic actions from ritualistic actions. Since any action that is in keeping with the Dharma, Ishvara, becomes a form of prayer, action performed by one who is not attached to the result of action is considered to be impelled by one's raga dvesha. The expression being unattached to the result of one's action is the source of much confusion because no one performs action without expecting a result. The word asakta, one who is unattached, has to be understood as a technical word, which means one whose action, whether Vedic or Laukika, are based on purely on raga, dvesha. Raga is always in terms of something desirable that is away from you, and dvesha is in terms of something you want to avoid or get rid of. Actions are not based on raga, dvesha, are considered to be in keeping with dharma and are meant for antakaran shuddhi. Thus, in the verse, asakta refers to the person who enjoys a certain control. Otherwise, one's raga, dvesha alone will decide what one should do. Whatever fancies happen along, the person will simply join them and do whatever comes to mind. Convenience instead of what is right, because the rule here to the action may be against dharma. The karma yogi, on the other hand, has a certain control over his or her organs of action and sense organ. We use the word certain because even though the person is karma yogi, he or she is still ajnana, one who is ignorant with the reference to the self. Thus, even though this person may have some omissions and commissions here, there is always a degree of control. Being not impelled by karma phala alone, interested only in antahkaran shuddhi and moksha, karma yogi does what has to be done. The idea conveyed here is that technically purification of the mind is the result of one's action. But because purification of mind is not born out of raga dvesha based action, it is not referred to as karma phala in usual senses. When you say you want to gain moksha, you mean that you want to know Atma. You mean you want to know Ishvara. Antakaran Shuddhi is understanding Ishvara. Knowledge of Ishvara is knowledge of oneself. Whether we use the word knowing, gaining, reaching, or whatever, what is meant is knowledge of Ishvara, which is not separate from knowledge of the self. Between Jiva, the individual, and Ishvara, the Lord, there is identity which is expressed as an equation. You are that. Tat tvam asi. That tat refers to Ishvara, who is the cause of the world. Tat Ishvara, you are. Tvam asi. This equation naturally implies self-knowledge and also Ishvara knowledge. In this context, karma is performed for antakaran shuddhi, so that knowledge of Ishvara can be gained, and not for getting something out of Ishvara. Getting something out of Ishvara implies raga dvesha, whereas here we want to know what he is. We want to have the vision of Ishvara, which is something entirely different. Therefore, karma becomes yoga. Krishna described one who begins this yoga as far superior, to whom in this commentary Shankara refers back to the person mentioned in the previous verse, the one who outwardly performs no action but dwells inwardly upon all the sense object and that have been given up. Such a person can also be called lazy. Laziness and idleness are not the same thing. The lazy person is one who does nothing outwardly but does everything mentally. He or she even writes letter mentally and then becomes annoyed when there is no reply. Whereas an idle person, one who is always busy without ever accomplishing anything, he or she makes a mess of everything and then clears them up. Such a person has no time for anything and accomplish nothing. In a planetarium in Hawaii, there is a coin operated machine designed to be busy as an idle person. Every form of mechanism can be seen in this machine: moving pistons, revolving wheels, hammering devices, and so on. Everything is mechanically possible is going on there, but nothing is ever produced. Aside from being a waste of energy, this machine is an excellent satire on how people are busy accomplishing nothing. The word vishishyate is the verse, does not mean simply superior. To say that karma yogi is far better does not mean that mithyachara mentioned in the previous verse is good. The two are completely different. One person is sitting, dwelling on things, being lazy, and the other person is active and has karma yoga attitude, because the karma yogi accomplish everything. He or she is far superior to the other person who is at all. The karma yogi accomplishes the ultimate Purushartha, moksha, but the hypocrite achieve nothing even in the relative senses. Doing what is to be done is superior to inaction. This is what Shri Krishna says now. Verse number 8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayoha karmanaha शरीर यात्रापि च ते न प्रसिद्धयेद कर्मणः. Do action that is to be done, because action is superior to inaction. Even the maintenance of your body would be impossible by inaction. Do the action. Doing action is very important. It is superior. Doing action is superior than inaction. Even the maintenance of your body, you have to maintain your body. If you don't do action, it will be impossible to maintain your body even. This is what we will see tomorrow. Verse number 8. Om Tat Sat. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Om Gurubhyo Namaha.